So the other day I was dropping some paperwork, some legal files off to an attorney in our office, and I was going to his building. He lived in one of those big buildings with the valet, and when I was downstairs, the security guard who was downstairs checking IDs, when I was driving through the gates, he was a big guy. He looked like he was Spanish, Puerto Rican, tight white shirt, big muscles, a lot of tattoos. He was very nice, he was pleasant, but he was a serious looking guy, a stern look on his face. Anyways, when he buzzed me through, I stopped to speak with him. I always carry with me cards that have a picture of the Rebbe, and they have these 7 laws, the universal laws of world peace. They're called the 7 laws of Noach, or the Noahide laws. And the Rebbe always encouraged his Hasidim and Jews to prepare everyone around us for the imminent coming of the redemption of Mashiach. And it's not just for Jews, it's for Gentiles as well. And that they could take their part by observing these 7 laws of Noach, the Noahide commandments, which are called the 7 laws of universal world peace. Anyway, so I had a bunch of cards with me, so I pulled one out and I handed it to him. And I said, this is a blessing for you from, and before I could say another word, he picked up the card and a big smile came across his face. He said, Rabbi Schneerson? I said, yeah. He said, wow, thank you so much. I'm a big fan of Rabbi Schneerson. I said, how do you know who Rabbi Schneerson is? He said, I used to go to his shul all the time. I said, are you Jewish? He said, no, I'm not Jewish. But I grew up in Brooklyn, and my best friend was Jewish. And I used to go with him to the synagogue in 770 Eastern Parkway when he used to pray. He said, as a matter of fact, there was an old Jewish guy who every time he came in, he would say to him, are you Jewish? And he would say, no. He said, so what's a Gentile doing in 770? So he explained to him, you don't have to be Jewish to come see a holy man. He said, you don't have to be a Buddhist to go to the Dalai Lama. Then you sure have to be Jewish to come to 770 to see the Rebbe. The man said, fine. And next time he came, same thing again. What's a Gentile doing in 770? Anyways, so we got into a conversation, and I explained to him about the 7 laws of Noach. And he was very happy, and he took the card. And I talked to him about Hashgacha Pratis. Hashgacha Pratis means that God is in control of every little detail in creation. And that there's no coincidences, there's no accidents, that everything happens for a reason. And I said, it's Hashgacha Pratis, it's divine providence, that I happen to be here right now to talk to you about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who you already knew who he was. So he said, let me tell you a story about divine providence. He said, my best friend, who I was just speaking to about growing up, he became a police officer, a New York City police officer. He said, and he was a great cop. He loved going to work. It was one of his favorite things to do, to be a police officer. It gave him great pride and happiness. He said, and then he got really sick. He got cancer. He got skin cancer, and it was very bad. And he was so upset. It was like he thought the world was coming to an end, as you can imagine. He said, thank God he's okay now. But at the time, it was terrible news. It was very, very bad. He said, in fact, one of the most depressing days for him was the first day that he had to start his chemotherapy and he couldn't go to work. And he knew he was going to be out of work for several months. And he said he was laying in his hospital bed, very despondent, very depressed, and he was watching the news. All of a sudden, there was a live news feed. This took place on September 11th, 2001. His station as a New York City police officer was exactly in the place where one of the planes hit the trade towers, the World Trade Center. If he was at work that day, he would have died. He told me the only reason he's alive today is because he was getting chemotherapy. And that treatment saved his life. So we see every single thing that happens in the world. It may appear to be a curse, but it's always a blessing, because God only gives blessings. We happen to be this week in Parshas Balak, where Balak hired the famous sorcerer Bilam and told him to curse the Jewish people. And we know how this story goes. He went to curse him, and instead a blessing came out of his mouth. He said, I only blessed him. And it's not a coincidence, it's Hashgacha Pratis, that we read Balak. We're entering the 3 weeks. The 3 weeks are known as 3 weeks of mourning for the Jewish people that culminate on the 9th of Av, which is the day of the destruction of the first and second temples. It's historically a time of mourning for the Jewish people. Yet the Lubavitcher Rebbe says that the mourning days are over. That in fact, after thousands of years of exile and good deeds and Torah learning and prayer and all the things we've done, the focus today needs to be not on mourning, but on rebuilding. That we need to not be sad during this time, but to be happy. because we're moments away from the third temple, the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi, descending from heaven, and Mashiach coming and revealing himself and taking us out of this long exile. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe said even more. He said, for sure, we're already in Yemot HaMashiach. We're already in the days of redemption. And we're very close to the full and final redemption. It should happen immediately. So next time something happens and it appears to be bad, stop, think for a second, know that God is good and that what is happening at that moment is only good. And think about the divine energy that is inside that moment of negativity and how it can be transformed to goodness and to light. And if you focus instead on the positive, on the good in every aspect of your life that is good, surely everything will be revealed as good. And the ultimate good of Mashiach now. God bless you.